welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Thomas Cath. This is a preview show for the big heavyweight fight happening this weekend between Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. As you can see, there's no Elliot Grigg, there's no Paul Kelly. You're stuck with me and Thomas this week. It's a bit different, and we're going to go about things a little bit differently. Thomas, we'll dive into it. These calls are as direct as ever. Wilder and Zhang, I want to get your opinion how these guys would get on against kind of the top three heavyweights at the moment. I think most people's top three heavyweights would be Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, and Anthony Joshua. I'm going this based off kind of world title wins, records, resumes. That's what I'm going off. If anyone disagrees with that top three, feel free to point it out. But I think for a lot of people, in no particular order, that's their top three. We'll start with Zhilei Zhang. Thomas has kind of got two losses on his record now. One against Joseph Park, which was still a fairly close fight, but still a loss in his record. How would Zhang get on against the likes of Usyk and Fury and Joshua, in your opinion?
Well, as we know, Zhang is 40 and not necessarily spring chicken even for a heavyweight. But however, I feel like does have quite a bit left to offer. He is a late bloomer. So I think at the very least, I'm not saying that he beats any of those guys. But I do think that at the very least he does provide a very entertaining matchup. And if either of those fights were made next, uh, him against any of those guys, I wouldn't complain at all.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think we don't know what is left of Tyson Fury now after his defeat against Usyk. Usyk, I think, is 37 now, so he's not a young fighter either. Um, Joshua's kind of, I think it's 4 wins in a row now, and we're excited to see what he's going to do next. If you were managing Zhang, which fighter do you look at and think he's got the best chance of beating here?
Joshua, I think Joshua, just based off of some of the in-ring issues that we've seen from Joshua in the past. We've seen him fade and lose concentration in fights before. He's gotten chin checked. He's been knocked out. So he's a very vulnerable guy, and Zhang could punch, but Zhang also is honestly even more so fades in fights. So if Zhang would were to beat Joshua, and again, I'm not saying he would. I'm not saying I would pick him to, but I think it would have to be a knockout somewhere within the first half of the fight.
Okay.
But yeah, I think if he beats any one of those three guys, it's most likely Joshua.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Like, I think, look, we hope we see these fights. Zhang, I think, lost against Parker, but still knocked him down twice. And to knock Parker down twice isn't easy. Had those emphatic victories over Joe Joyce as well. He's a massive lump, isn't he? Look, he's kind of, in my opinion, he's a bigger man than Tyson Fury. He's a bigger man than Anthony Joshua. Obviously, a bigger man than Alexander Usyk as well. He's a really big heavyweight, and it'd be interesting to see how he would get on against those guys. And if he beats Deontay Wilder, on June the 1st, we might see those fights happen. Moving across to Deontay Wilder, Thomas. It's been close to a decade since we've been talking about that fight against Anthony Joshua. We've never seen it. We may never see it. We've obviously seen Deontay Wilder face Tyson Fury 3 times, so we can maybe gloss over that. Never seen him face Alexander Usyk. So how would Wilder Joshua? Let's start with that. Where do you sit there? Because Wilder looked fairly uninterested in his last fight. However, you can't ignore what he's been doing his entire career, which is knocking people out. How do you think that fight goes against Joshua?
Well, like as I said before, Joshua, I think, is the most vulnerable out of those three guys. So I think, it wouldn't be out of the question see him get knocked out, but at this stage, I just don't really think so. I just don't really feel like he has a lot in the tank, and even though he has had a great career, obviously, he's only had a few losses. In his last fight, he looked very bad.
Mm.
So, um, I see Joshua. He should be able to get the job done against Wilder, and I don't really think Wilder really kid has it in him to beat any of the top three guys heavyweight.
Brutal, brutal. Yeah, I think it's a bit sad because Deontay Wilder has kind of gone from being this feared puncher to a fighter. I just think many heavyweights would now look at him and fancy their chances. And you have to question a lot, and it's going to be really interesting to see what Deontay Wilder comes out on June 1st, because you can't ignore what happened against Joseph Parker. Um, but it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Look, I would love to see the old Deontay Wilder come out, but against a big puncher in Zhang, I think it's I think it's going to be really tough to see, but we'll see. Thomas, we'll move on to predictions now. We're only 3, 4 days away from fight night now, so we've not got long left to go. Give us your kind of your mini breakdown and who you see winning on Saturday.
Well, as we both suggested, we think that basically Zhang is the more fresher fighter at the moment, and I think that as long as the fight lasts, I think Zhang should be out in front. I think he'll probably, you know, I think he'll probably be putting a lot of punishment on him and beating him up at some points. I really think he would have to get I would think that it would be within Zhang's best interest to get a knockout somewhere in the first half of the fight, because if it goes beyond that, you know, man,
Yeah,
I might like Wilder's chances, and we know that Zhang fades in fights. Um, so it would be hard for me to imagine that he can avoid that big right hand from Wilder for, a full 12 rounds. So we'd have to find a way to make it a short night, in my opinion. Um, you know what? I think that Wilder has one more big knockout left in him. I think Zhang's gonna be well out in front after the first half of the fight, and I think somewhere towards the end, championship rounds, perhaps Wilder lays a big one on him, puts him down. Zhang doesn't get up.
yeah,
That's my prediction. Yeah, I'd say knockout, Wilder knockout round 10 or 11.
fantastic. No, look, I really hope you're right, Thomas, because there's nothing quite like a Wilder highlight reel
Right.
knockout. And on such a big card that we're going to see on June 1st, it'd be fantastic to see. However, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I think I can't get that Parker performance out of my head, and I think Zhang, although Zhang lost his last fight, he's still a very dangerous guy, and I don't think Wilder is going to be prepared enough to have a bigger man who punches as hard as he does coming at him. It's a tough one. It is a tough one. I'm not saying this with a huge amount of confidence, but if I had to make a prediction, I'm going to disagree with you, and I'm going to go for Zhilei Zhang to win this fight inside 6 rounds, and I'll go round 4 or 5. But it should be a great fight. Two of the biggest punching heavyweights of the last decade. And it's going to be quite something to see. Hopefully we see a great fight. Thomas, good to be joined by you as always. Been a bit different doing one of these videos with you. We're kind of usually down used to doing kind of final predictions, which is even more to the point. But yeah, it's a weekly preview this time. Thomas, thank you very much for your time, and I will speak to you again soon.
Likewise. Thank you.